You're listening to the 14th source for all geeky and nerdy news and discussion, which means that you're listening to a podcast.
For all intents and purposes.
I'm D. Bethel.
And I'm Andrew Asplin.
And we are your two overeducated codependent nerd hosts, bringing you the things that we like to talk about, but filtered through inquisitive and critical lenses in the episode for Friday, August 8th, 2025. It's been a minute. Things have been busy on my end, but that's okay because I am here I got food news, Andrew.
Food news?
Mm-hmm. So I ate some weird food, and I thought of you.
Okay?
Because you like eating sometimes. I mean, let me just say, it's meat-related food.
Okay, I mean, it's interesting. At the time of this recording, completely unrelated, Dan does not know this, literally 24 hours ago, I ground 14 and a half pounds of pork butt.
Whoa, I don't need to know what you do in your private time here, sir.
Right?
Yeah. Grinding pork butt. Well, I went a little deeper than that. I went deeper into the butt. No, what? It was actually beef. I had, for the first time ever, and I was nervous as fuck. Not because I was worried about, like I don't know. It's just a weird concept. I had bone marrow. And it was all right.
All right.
Have you ever had bone marrow?
I don't think I've had it. I don't know.
It's
Probably
super
not.
weird. It's something I've heard about for years, right? Because, obviously, when it comes to, hunter-gatherers and stuff like that, it's such... I always heard that, bone marrow is such a concentrated source of nutrients and calories, right? And then I hear snobby people talk about bone marrow. It's like, oh, it's the best. And I'm like, it's the shit inside the bone. That sounds nasty, right? And so a little over a year ago, my wife and I bought a cow. Well, we bought a third of a cow. And it came, guess what? The cow came with more than just meat. We got this, it was all the everything was cut into different cuts and wonderfully wrapped and stuff like that. But we're unloading all these boxes and what is this? Oh, that's the neck bone. I'm like, oh, cool. And we got a big pile of marrow bones. And my stepmom is a cook and who specializes in medieval and Renaissance cookery.
Okay, that was a niche I was not expecting.
Yeah. And so I'm like, do you want to
eat nothing but fucking stew?
I was going down to visit her and my dad, and I'm like, do you want any of this weird stuff? She's like, fuck yes. I'm like, okay. Then she said the thing that made me terrified. She was like, and I'm going to make you eat it. I'm like, oh, okay. But it was all right. Basically, the way she presented it, it was cooked thoroughly and stuff like that. And it's basically like a spread. You just kind of spread it on some toast, put some fucking salt on top, and it just tastes meaty. It was fine. So I never thought that I'd be the exotic diner on this podcast, but here I am. Sure, I'm not grinding my own pork butt.
Well, I will say
sucking marrow.
Sucking marrow. I actually will say, for people that think I'm some sort of weird eater, I'm actually not. I grew up, my mother was born in Argentina. So as a kid, we would always have an Argentine asado, right? A barbecue. And, to the point where my mother jokes, I once made the comment, the Argentines, they take all the good cuts of the cow and they sell them to America and they cook the rest.
Okay.
Which is because I like the idea that the thing, I ate, not realizing as a kid, was eating a lot of offal.
OFFAL.
Yeah, offal. I like offal because that's actually how it tastes. Yeah. Well, it's the weird thing where
good band name, by the way.
I actually think about there is technically Argentines also cook a lot of flank steak, but for some reason my grandparents never had flank steak, probably because it was too expensive. So it was everything else. There were ribs, but they were ribs. What if you cooked ribs on a barbecue? And I don't know if anyone that knows ribs, a rib is a slow cook, friend. If you just fucking fry it on the barbecue for 15 minutes, it's a chewy nightmare.
Yeah, most people like either in the oven or on a Traeger or something like that.
Right, you smoke it or whatever, like you slow cook it. So that was the experience. Also, like things like what I think when my mother says chinchulines, which I think tripa de leche. It's a tripe, but it's not a stomach tripe. It's an intestinal tripe, I think. Which.
Let's make that distinction, sure.
Well, no, 'cause there's different, like they're very different.
Still the guts.
Also, morcilla, which anyone that knows, Spanish,
she's married to Gomez Adams.
that's blood sausage.
Oh, nice.
Which I didn't realize I remember as a kid being like, I'm not into this. I don't like it. Not knowing what it was. And then years later being like, holy shit, dog. So like there's all these sweet breads, which are neither sweet nor breads.
Oh, no, they are not. And we're not going to talk about that because that's...
So there's this idea that like I kind of group eating
Look
a
it
lot
up,
of
dear
these
listeners,
like,
if you want to know what sweet breads are.
and I just think it's funny because my father was always a grump about this, and I never knew. I had eat them as I was younger, and as I got older, I'm like, I don't know if I like most of these.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, oh wow, I'm not a big fan of organ meat and some exotics. So I never had marrow because I think I have such a negative vibe on most organ meat that even though it's not organ, it's bone, but so instead I just buy giant butts and put them through a grinder. Bam.
Wait, are we still talking about food?
Perhaps.
So the one thing I did learn though is like you can't eat too much marrow because the next day, because we had these she cooked two basically halves of a bone, and it's like fuck. I was like, we tried to watch a TV show that night. I'm just like meat sweats to exponential degree, and then I woke up in the morning. I'm like, I feel like not bad. I just feel like a lot. And she's like, I came down and she's like, you want breakfast? I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think I need to eat ever again for the rest of my life. It was crazy. So that's ongoing food adventures on the For All Intents and Purposes podcast, which thoroughly proves that this podcast is indeed for all intents
and purposes. Even apparently sometimes weird food shit.
Bone juice. But we're not here to talk about bone juice. We're talking about, the juice that powers our bones, nerd shit.
Boy, that really felt like it was going to get away from us, didn't it?
No way. And we are, so we're going to talk about our weeks or months, who knows, our recent times in Geeks.
Our recent amount of time in Geek.
Yeah. So I got a couple things to talk about, but I can talk about them quickly. So let's just kind of throw it over to you, Andrew, because I know you've kind of been going on an odyssey.
Okay. An adventure. Did I mention on the show that I bought the Bluray player? I do not remember. Obviously I've texted you about it, and friend of the show, Taylor, infinitely. So I think I may have mentioned it, but I'm going to recap for those that missed it, or if I just never mentioned it. So, 3 weeks ago, I just became kind of obsessed with this idea of watching Stargate Atlantis, which is it's a show.
Is it a spin-off show, or
it's
is
a
that the original
spin-off
show?
There's the movie Stargate, which came out in like 1995. There was Stargate SG-1, which was the kind of follow-up show with Richard Dean Anderson that premiered on Showtime and eventually got picked up by Sci-Fi. Stargate Atlantis, which was a spin-off that started like in the 7th season of Stargate SG-1. And then eventually they did Stargate Universe, which was a show that came after both of the first two. And I have not seen that one. So I wanted to watch Stargate Atlantis, in part because... and I'm going to actually, this is a full context. I'm going to explain why. And I'm not, this is not a secret. You can run off with it and do your own thing. I kind of had this idea of doing like a role-playing game thing with the idea of exploring the lost continent of Atlantis, but broader and more general. And so I was looking through, there's a Pathfinder adventure, Pathfinder Ruins of Aslan, which I love the concept, not the execution, which is kind of in this fantasy world, you go to the Atlantis equivalent and explore. Great. I also, I've been trying to actually rewatch, I haven't found it yet. I haven't looked that hard. Disney's Atlantis movie.
Oh, yeah. I I could send you the DVD.
Right. When I think I want to say it's on Disney Plus. I just haven't checked yet.
Yeah.
I was like, think of other Atlantis-y things, or just kind of like exploring a lost world, an ancient civilization type stuff to like kind of get different takes on that. And Stargate Atlantis is very much that. In the context of the Stargate world, it is basically, hey, we discovered Atlantis. Like what that means in the context of this universe. So now we're going to send an expedition there to explore it, and it's in another galaxy. I was like, okay, cool. I want to watch that. So I'm like, I want to watch this show. Great. I said, hey, internet, where can I watch this show streaming? And it's like, you can watch it on, and it gives me a list of like 15 streaming services, of which I'm convinced 12 of them are not real. That's the internet for you, right? You Google something that seems obvious, and you get like, oh, watch it on Poopy. Like, Poopy is not a streaming service, man. But I found out that, Amazon Prime, right? Okay, I've got that subby. Let me check it out. So I start watching it. And I'm like, okay, it's going. And then all of a sudden it pauses, and I'm suddenly getting a commercial like it's 2005.
Yep. Did it have the futuristic edition of like, hey, this thing we're advertising, do you want to buy it now? And there's a button you can push?
I actually tune it out. So I don't know what commercials I'm seeing because I do what we used to do in the 90s. I get up and walk away.
The Amazon
commercial
Prime
break is actually a time to go take a shit. Or
the Amazon Prime ads are the most infuriating. If only because Amazon Prime is literally the most expensive service, admittedly, like if you're paying for Amazon Prime, it's for the shipping and all the bullshit. But like of all the services to start instituting ads, I would have figured it would have been the last one just because of how much that is. But it's so fucking dumb. It's so offensive. So I'm saying is I feel your pain and frustration, and I know where this takes you, and I support it. Yeah.
So after the first half of the pilot, I fucking said, no thanks. Where else can I watch this? And I'm like, well, I could buy it on iTunes. And I said, oh, actually, no. I don't want to do that either because I fear it's going to be like a shitty version of it. Because I've actually seen some things where I bought it on iTunes and it was like an old, like, oh, this is the one they uploaded 10 years ago. And all it is just the episodes with like shitty audio. Or like, I don't want to play that game. Okay. Was this released on Blu-ray? Now, there's a whole delightful story about me finding out there are 3 different versions of this show on Blu-ray, and they're all slightly different. Finding the right one. Luckily, while Stargate does not have the fan base of Star Trek, there was some weird YouTube channel which explained the differences between the 3 for me, and I bought one of them. And I'm like, great. Oh, wait, I don't really have a Blu-ray player. I have a PlayStation 4 connected to my big TV. But that's not where I want to watch the show. I actually want to watch the show while I'm doing something else on my computer. Because actually, I've watched some TV shows like on Netflix or whatever while I'm like doing something else, like kind of a passive watch. That's kind of what I wanted, but I can't put Blu-rays into my computer. It's a Mac Mini with no disk drive. Okay, can I buy a Blu-ray player? Yes. I could buy whatever. Anyway, long story short, I end up with a small Sony Blu-ray player that's now sitting on my desk. It is
might be the same one I have, actually.
It is quite a
backup one. Yeah.
It lets me, and I have it connected to one of my monitors. I have a changer. I actually have a digital audio converter coming, but we'll talk about that later. So I've been watching this show. Anyway, why did I want to talk about this? As I'm watching the show, I kind of forgot. After the first season, they decided they didn't really quite like the composition of the cast. So they basically wrote out one of the characters, Lieutenant Aidan Ford, as played by Rainbow Sun Franks, who's I believe a Canadian actor who didn't really have much of a career. Not like he wasn't a big, like he just did some stuff. And they cast another guy who they, I guess, found, who he was a young man from a place called Hawaii.
I've heard of it.
A faraway place. Who had, I believe, his career. He basically was a young man who became like a model, like a lot of guys do. But really, the big thing was, I think he had been in Baywatch, for a bit.
I know where this is going. Yeah,
let's not really give that as like, oh, you had a big breakout, like you're in Baywatch. But he actually they got Jason Momoa, which
don't say that like it was a hard get.
Well,
again, what
it's
year
this
is
idea
this?
that like now it's Jason Momoa. You're like, holy
Right.
shit, dude, they got Jason Momoa. But like back then it was like, oh, this guy was on Baywatch, you know. And the reason it's interesting is he shows up, and it's he's very young at this point. You know, he's I guess actually he's about. I didn't realize he's about our age. So he's probably in his mid-20s at this point. He's like 25. The reason why I think it's interesting is that he shows up, he's this character, he's from this other galaxy. He's basically like half the time he's wearing a duster and he's got this big pistol and he just blasts people. Okay. But they actually have on the Bluray, they have this behind the scenes, like introducing the new character, Ronan Dex, and it's him talking about, everyone talking about the part and why they kind of got to where they were. But he actually talks about it. The thing I thought was just absolutely fascinating, because this is, again, 2005. He talks about basically this idea, he really loved this part on sci-fi, where he's basically playing a gunslinger. Like, he's just playing like this kind of badass, you know, fighting gunslinger guy who fights with his fancy pistol. And they even give him like this oversized, ridiculous pistol so he can fucking blast people. And he's wearing, like I said, he's got these big costumes and stuff. But he makes the comment that, you know, in his mind, and this again, a 25-year-old Jason Momoa, that this is the kind of part that in his mind is always played by a white guy. And he was excited as a Hawaiian to be able to play this part. And it was such a weird, like, oh, dude, did you just representation on this fucking special feature, you know? And again, it's the reason why it stood out to me is because now that kind of discussion is so like, DEI, you know, like the idea that like someone would be excited that like, hey, I'm a Hawaiian and I'm playing a part that in my experience is always played by white dudes. You know, I think that's cool, right? Now, actually, he's not the first person to do this. I mean, Whoopi Goldberg loves talking about seeing Nichelle Nichols on TV and being like, "Mama, that lady's not a maid or a slave, right? She's answering the phone." Sorry, she did say that, but it's this idea that, you know, here we go, Jason Momoa, who now is just like, you know, this kind of big action movie star, heartthrob, whatever. But here he is saying like, man, I was excited to play this part where me, a Hawaiian, gets to be basically the canonical white guy part. Of course, it's even funnier because as I'm watching this, I'm now getting commercials for his new series, Chief of War, where he plays like a Hawaiian
Chief of War, perhaps?
Chief of War chief, you know. And I'm like, wow, he would full circle from, hey, I'm the Hawaiian playing the white guy part to I'm playing the Hawaiian part, right? That is just me. I mentioned Chief of War because some review I read said it starts with him wrestling a shark and ends with him melting someone's face in a volcano, a magma flow. And I'm like, well, shit, this show goes places. I've not seen it.
This gun is wild.
So anyway, I will say, like, in terms of Stargate, it's fine. It's an interesting show. Actually, I honestly kind of like what it does. I would never recommend it to someone because it's very difficult to watch without the context of 7 fucking seasons of Stargate SG-1.
Really? Okay.
But other than the idea that, like, hey, we followed, like, the ancient Atlanteans, and we discovered that, and a spoiler for those that don't want to watch the first 2 minutes of the show, the premise is that Atlantis was a city on Earth that was actually also a spaceship, and they basically just say, fuck it, we're out, bro, and they take off and go to another galaxy.
Oh shit! Okay.
And then they park the ship, which is connected via magic Stargate, but it's really far away, which is why they didn't find it. The Earthlings didn't find it until season 7 of Stargate SG-1. So it's this idea of like, oh, and then there's the premise that all the Atlanteans, something went wrong in this new galaxy, and most of them came back to Earth, which is why, like, the Legend of Atlantis was like, oh, these survivors that fled to Earth are like, hey, well, we come from Atlantis. Shit got real, you know.
So it's not a nautical based show.
Well, it is, except of course because the idea is that when they get to the city, it's underwater. And then it ends up being in the middle of an ocean on another planet.
So he's still able to write it off as prep for his role as Aquaman.
Right. He could still say like, "Hey, man, I've done this before.
Yeah.
Been to Atlantis." Actually, I didn't really think like how many parts will he play where he's the king of Atlantis, or he goes to Atlantis, right?
So how far are you in the show?
I'm in season 3 of 5.
Okay, that's a good run. Wow.
Yeah, I think it got canceled, but also that was kind of like Stargate SG-1 had run for like 700 seasons at that point. So like really they kind of were like burning out the Stargate machine. But yeah, I would say I really it's a fun concept. I think actually the one thing I will say, and what leads me why I even mentioned why I was watching this, is between both Stargates. I haven't seen Universe, and I probably won't because it's too grim. I think both of them, they really feel like, and I think I've read that this was almost intentional. They feel like someone was just writing a role-playing game, right? Like, hey man, here you are, this team on Earth, and you have the magic donut that takes you to other planets full of adventure. Right, like, oh, perfect, right? Like, I could imagine that video game or that role playing game. And Stargate Atlantis, you took the magic donut to a new galaxy where you're now stuck in this lost city, and you have a magic donut that takes you around the neighborhood. I know I'm really, really discrediting the Stargate as a magic donut.
Definitely not being reductive here about a show that you're trying to sell here.
Yeah, so I will say it's been kind of fun to watch. It's been fun. It is. It's also weird to see like this, kind of some of the guest stars like Mitch Pileggi, who was in X-Files.
Yeah,
he shows up, I think, in season 2 and becomes kind of like a semi-regular. They also cycle a few cast members out, and then they pick up like Robert Picardo, who shows up at some point. He's already in the show where I'm watching it, but I think he actually becomes a regular, because he's hot off of Voyager. Let's see, some other, just some, actually, was it, one of the guys from Star Trek Enterprise, Connor Trenier, I think his name is, Trip, the commander of Enterprise. He's in it as a character. Like, there's all sorts of like, a lot of these shows, it becomes like a who's who of like, I've seen you in another show, right? Like, oh, look, it's the guy from blah, blah, David Ogden Stiers shows up in an episode. Like, all right, I see that you're
as a talking candle, please.
No, as a doctor at an army camp. No, as a guy that locks on a Troy falls in love with. No, yeah. So it's I will say it's I'm having fun with it again. Really, the most exciting part for me is, and this is where now my grumpy comes out, is I'm just excited to have now this Blu-ray player, and I'm actually starting to buy Blu-rays because, I think I've said it before, but I'm really, when the whole Star Trek Prodigy thing happened, where they literally disappeared the show, like they took it off of Paramount, like, oh, it's gone, sorry, we canceled it. And like for a month or two, the show was just gone. And then Netflix said, oh, we're buying it, or we're gonna license it. And the idea that like, okay, when Netflix gives up on that license, what then happens to said show? Like, it's gone again, and not just those shows, so many shows or movies or whatever that like, it's like I have to catch it on Blu-ray or it's just gone.
I feel so vindicated. It's like you wait longer, you wait around long enough, and you become hip again. Which I'm not going to make an argument that I am, but like, I feel like I've maybe gotten some guff, maybe even on the show, that I still buy physical media. And boy, it's nice to hear you come back around to it.
Yeah, my only complaint now is finding a way to store it. Although I've been
into
looking
pork
like,
butt.
No, yuck.
No,
smooshing discs into pork butt. No, actually, the one thing I've seen some weird like binders you can get, like ones that look fancy, but then you have just, I don't need the I'll keep the cases in like a box somewhere, if I ever have to get rid of them. But like just having, oh, here's this bookcase and there's these books. Actually, it's not a book; it's a Blu-ray binder. So we'll see how that works out.
You can probably find a Blu-ray binder that looks like on the spine at least, just like a normal book.
Oh no, there's an Italian manufacturer that makes these, and they're very ostentatious looking. And I'm like,
and I
how
bet
Italian?
they're super cheap.
Ish.
Do the tariffs cover this? I'm not sure.
Let's oof. So anyway, that's kind of what I've been doing for the past couple weeks,
Nice.
and kind of looking at like, all right, what other Blu-rays am I going to bust out? I will say I really disappointed. I have Star Trek: The Next Generation on Blu-ray, and the realization, because they did the big remaster, there is no Deep Space Nine or Voyager on Blu-ray because it's never been high def, right?
Interesting.
So I have the DVDs in a box somewhere, but like, there's no
TOS?
Blu-ray. Yeah, because they did the remaster of that, so which I should probably just pick up, right?
Yeah. Those are good
Before
too. Yeah.
they disappear it, you know.
Well, I don't think it's going anywhere. Well, as long as Paramount Plus is still around, but who knows?
Right? Like you say that. Hold on. So anyway, that's kind of my specific time era of geek. Dan, what about you?
Andrew?
Yes.
I am going to give you a choice.
Uh-huh.
I have two things I can talk about, and it's basically I'm reporting from the front lines of popular culture. Because the two items I'm going to talk about, not in any incredible detail, I'll avoid spoilers if I can, but I have seen the new Superman movie, and I've seen the new Fantastic Four movie. And I have thoughts about both. I've seen Superman twice, and I hope to see Fantastic Four again before it leaves the theaters. But which movie would you like to hear about?
You give me your fave.
Oh, God. That's rude. Because they're both good in very different ways. But I've had a couple friends ask me which one should they see, and my first answer is always like, why not both, right? ¿Por qué no los dos, right? Because they're both good, and the one thing I'll say is like, I think a lot of the writing and discourse about the movies is on point here, ignoring the combative discussion on social media, like, which one's kicking the other one's ass, like ignoring that stuff, right? Like, it's interesting that at the same time, two movies that are very kind of self-contained, kind of joy-filled films came out at the same time that are both superhero movies. That seemed to be kind of, it's it's more synchronous than Barbenheimer, right?
I'm sorry. What are you telling me that a movie about the nuclear bomb and a movie about a toy doll are not synchronous, or not the same, or not don't go well together?
So I think it's just a really good summer to see superhero movies if you like that kind of thing. So, however, I've been asked which people presenting, I would say kind of, again, not everybody's in this position. I was just saying like an unfair choice. It's like, which one should I see? I'm like, you know what? You probably have time to see both of them over the next few weeks. I don't care. But which one should you see right now? I would argue Superman. It's more of a traditional narrative. And it's focused, it's solid, it's fun, it's funny, it's awesome. It's just good times. And Fantastic Four is good. It's actually taking some really interesting risks that I don't know if they work, but I'm glad that they did it. Based on your question, I will talk about Superman.
Okay.
Because also I've seen it twice. It's a James Gunn joint, and I think I'm a James Gunn fan. Like, I always liked the Guardians movies a lot. The Guardians of the Galaxy movies, I should be clear. They've always kind of been the Marvel movies I've gravitated to, and have watched multiple times. All three of them. And I don't think I talked about it on the show, but I did end up watching, because I had a bunch of IKEA furniture to put together, and my wife was out of town. I'm like, let's put on Peacemaker. I heard it's fucked up but funny, and I actually really enjoyed it. I was like, I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it, because it's violent and crass show, but it never felt cruel. It obviously broached some tough situations and scenarios, but always did so with consequences and with humor. To the point where I'm like, then I saw Superman. I'm like, I think I like James Gunn as a storyteller. I did not realize this. Yeah. And so I guess there's kind of a bias going on there, but one of the scenes they had released before the film came out, I think, illustrates what to expect from this film. As part of the marketing leading up to it, they released a scene that showed Superman kind of lying in
snow.
In the snow, just beat to hell, right? And he whistles, and we see Krypto
dragged by a fucking dog.
That's the first scene of the film.
Which is, I've read that, and I was like, oh, okay.
And that sets the scene and the tone for the entire film. It is bonkers. And I was really interested in seeing it the second time, where I took my wife, because she likes superhero movies as much as anybody else, but she's not going to be like, I remember all the lore and stuff like that, which is nice with Superman, because there's no lore to remember. It's kind of a new start, and they do bring in a lot of characters.
He is super.
And
that
right,
is the story.
Well, we also have a lot of DC characters that I know you and I have either talked personally or maybe on the show. We think of something like Red Sun, where it felt like they tried to jam in all the DC heroes into this fun premise, and it just felt like it lost the thread, right? All the characters serve the narrative in this movie. It doesn't feel like it's just packing characters in to pack characters in. And each character gets, I would argue, either acts as a nice foil to Superman or gets their own arc in the course of the story. But yeah, we get characters like Guy Gardner, who I have zero experience with, other than he's the asshole of the DC universe.
Right, he's an asshole Green Lantern, which to me is already like, that's asshole Green Lantern, like that's you're already in a big crowd, right?
And he's incredible in this movie, Mr. Terrific. All of a sudden, I'm a fan of a character named Mr. Terrific. I'm like, sure, okay, sure. But they pack all these characters in, and I was really kind of wondering, like, if she would feel it was overwhelming, like it was just throwing a bunch of shit at you because it's assuming you're a comic book fan, or if it's actually presenting all these things in a narratively cogent and cromulent way, right? And she enjoyed the film quite a bit, so that was kind of heartening. But I guess the main thing I want to sort of say about Superman and why I've seen it twice. Is that it is just a film about optimism and joy. Like it's a good film that tackles things like corporate favoritism and corporate hedonism, but also doesn't do it in a way that is super oppressive and just a downer. That they present these characters and these themes in ways that I would argue make people like, or characters like Superman, relevant for modern times, which is one of the biggest arguments we hear against Superman, right? It's like, he's just a stupid Boy Scout. There's nothing, and he's super overpowered, and like, what is there to say? It makes him into a real character that I found engaging and entertaining. But also has a lot to do for the humans in the story. People like Lois Lane, I think, is actually... I've talked to people who have said that she doesn't really have she doesn't do very much in the movie. And on my second watch, I'm like, actually, she's doing journalism, which is not maybe sexy to watch on screen.
What is journalism?
It's a dying art. I'm not going to lie. But, like, we get to see her...
I read someone say that, like, wow, this movie's doing journalism.
Right.
Which is like, oh, what's that?
But, and I can say this can actually serve as a sort of transition to Fantastic Four, which I think I maybe have more to talk about, even though I would probably say I enjoyed Superman more on the whole, just because it was a good movie. It's a good movie. The casting is really strong, and I did genuinely love all the characters. Everyone from, like I said, Superman and Lois Lane to Jimmy Olsen is incredible in this movie. To characters like that I have zero affinity or history with, right? Like Guy Gardner and Metamorpho. Like it's just like, wow, I'm actually interested in these characters. I feel like this is what it felt like for a lot of those people that got involved. I guess you're included in this. They got invested in the WB CW universe.
Right. I've got a Mr. Terrific. I know that.
Yeah. And I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on this take on Mr. Terrific, because he is stellar in this film, I would say. But I don't have any previous knowledge coming to this film with that character. But it's just like, it's clear that everybody's having fun. The movie's just like a focused statement on what it is to be good, what it is to be a good person and a good human versus, someone that just caters to their pettiness and to their to just emotional reaction to the internet, for lack of a better word. I thought it was as a person that's sort of looking at superhero movies on a sort of a bird's eye kind of view. It feels like it's what the DC universe needed. And what I mean by that is it feels like James Gunn and his crew actually listened to what a lot of people are saying and like, hey, you know what? The stuff that they're doing on the CW, making superheroes fun, maybe we should try doing that too, right? To the point where, like he said in the movie, the Lex Luthor's company is not LexCorp, it's Luthor Corp. And he was asked why he called it that, because in the comics it's called LexCorp. He's like, well, who names a company after the first name? And in Smallville they called it
Luthor Corp. Because it was I think it was his father who started.
Yeah, his dad, right? And it gives them the opportunity to bring in Lex's father in future movies if they wanted to. Yeah, it's just a good time. That's what I can say. Like doesn't do anything. It's not breaking the mold necessarily. It's a good time.
Well, that's what I've heard. I've actually heard it's a good time. It's interesting. I will say, having read kind of some stuff about it, like you mentioned, it starts with that scene of him in the snow and with Crypto, but also the idea that him and Lois already know who each other are. Yep. They've been dating for a while, and the idea that here we go. It's starting us like we don't need to do
the origin,
a whole movie of origin story because and this is actually I think Marvel did it with Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. This idea that man, we've seen so many Superman origin stories that we don't need that anymore. Right. And I will say that also Lois and Superman and Lois did the same thing where they just actually skipped the origin story because the character had already been introduced in Supergirl.
Right.
I honestly we also don't need another Batman origin story, right? No. We don't need any of these. Like we know we're good. Yeah.
Yeah. The only honestly, if we were to talk about what the movie's about, it's about what is family. Nurture versus nature kind of stuff. Because I would say, again, I'm definitely not an expert in Superman, but it seems like Gunn tinkers with the lore a bit, to emphasize the themes that he wants to get across in this film that I think actually work for the better. And that's something I think I won't go into more detail until you've seen it when it arrives on HBO.
Whatever it arrives on.
But the only sort of they talk about the origin because they do bring up the fact that you're an alien, but all they do for the origin is at the very beginning before he whistles for the dog, as they say 3 centuries ago, superheroes showed up, or metahumans as they call them. 3 decades ago, an alien landed in a farm in Kansas. 3 years ago, he called himself Superman. 3 minutes ago, he lost his first fight. And that's where the movie starts. It's just text on the screen. And they go through the whole thing. Similarly, Marvel issued a traditional origin story with the Fantastic Four First Steps.
You mean The Incredibles Part 3?
Hey.
Zing!
Heyo. But that's so Fantastic Four. Sorry, the Fantastic Four First Steps is a very different movie. Although I would say it is of a piece with Superman in that it is just a joyful movie. It's clear that the actors are having a good time, that the characters are fairly well fleshed out. And it's just a fully realized world that is fun to be in. And that's what it shares with Superman, even though it's a completely different vibe and a completely different story and a completely different approach. I thought it was really fun.
I've also heard that as well.
The retro vibe was great. Like I said, the realization of the characters, especially, I thought the Thing was really well realized. Galactus and Silver Surfer were fantastic.
I do. This is like a low bar.
Jesus, yeah.
This is a low bar, but I love the idea. Someone said this is the best, live action presentation of Galactus ever, and I'm like, well, that's okay.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
better than a cloud of smoke.
Right? It's like
nailing it.
Okay.
I was able to avoid most spoilers. Not that there's a lot to necessarily spoil the movie. What I had heard were complaints about the editing and pacing. It stood out to me while I was watching it. I'm like, this movie's moving very fast. And I could see people being turned off by it, but then like it hit me. I don't know if it's intentional, but it's definitely an argument that I could make that I think actually works. Is that Fantastic Four is really the Fantastic Four First Steps is rooted in sort of a retro vibe, right? That's one of the main selling points of the film. And not only in its look, but I guess mostly in its look. But I guess even to its presentation, because I remember reading an interview where Pedro Pascal worked hard on speaking in a mid-Atlantic or transatlantic accent, and then he started talking that, and the director and producers like, well, how can we pull that back a bit? Because that's a little much, bro. Mid-Atlantic. But I was noticing the pacing was going quick, but it was always consistent. And I've seen a lot of discourse online going like, oh, this is Kevin Feige cutting up this fucking movie because he's scared of another film. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, one, internet discourse is stupid. But also, like, it is paced like a comic book from the 1960s, where things move very fast, right? Don't forget, like, the Galactus saga is basically 2.5 issues of the Fantastic Four, right? And a lot of those big, like, X-Men Days of Future Past, that's another huge storyline that we all talk about, like, oh, this is a seminal moment in X-Men history. It is 2 issues. That's it, right? And mostly because things keep moving along at a clip. And
right, gotta get the next book on the shelf.
Right. And this movie kind of is doing that, but is not sacrificing, I would argue, story. I guess it's sacrificing character moments, but some people don't care. I like character moments. I would like to have seen more character moments with certain characters, more depth with certain characters. But I'm also definitely on the side of like, well, this is so and so's movie. Like, I would argue that this movie, Fantastic Four, is Sue and Reed's movie, specifically Sue Storm's movie. Like, we can do the sad Ben Grimm, The Thing stuff in a sequel, right? We don't need to do everything in this movie. And other than that, like, it has a really good balance of narrative and spectacle. And let me tell you, dude, I saw this movie with Kyron Silva, our on-the-ground Marvel correspondent, who is also a big fan of the cosmic side of Marvel Comics. And Silver Surfer is his favorite character.
Yeah, I'm waiting to hear how Chiron responded.
He
to
was
the Silver
so
Surfer.
mad. No, joking. No,
I mean, I don't know, right?
he loved
this
it. Like,
is bullshit.
because
they ruined this fucking character.
Right,
a dude who's all silver. They replaced her with a chick.
But no, Shala Ball is they that's her name in the movie, and she's an actual character who was the who was the surfer for a bit in the comics, and he was also very excited about Galactus. And my God, dude, in terms of just scale and presentation and acting, Galactus is incredible. The first actual moments where you see Galactus, I'm like, print out that frame, put it on a fucking wall. It is awesome.
I gotta say, like, I think the one thing, say what you will, that and I think James Gunn is doing this too with his stuff, is the idea of like Marvel. I think is really it's like, hey, what does this character look like in the comics? Let's make it look like that.
Yeah, right.
In a way that like previously comic book movies really tried to avoid, right? Like, oh, they can't look like that.
Yeah.
Like the original X-Men movies
yeah.
or the original Spider-Man. They're like, oh no, we have to make it look cool. And
now organic web shooters, right? Yeah.
But now it's like, no, like that weird Galactus fucking headdress shit. Boom, print. Hey man, Mr. Terrific with a T on his face? Print.
Well, don't remember like the mic drop moment of Deadpool and Wolverine is when Wolverine puts on his stupid fucking mask. And like, yeah, that looks stupid, but it's awesome. Right? So like, yeah, no, and what's crazy is that they built a practical Galactus costume. There's shots that they've released in the week after Fantastic Four came out of Ralph Ineson, the actor that played him, who it shows him in well, not in full costume because he's got the helmet on. He's got like the chest and the leggings on, but then he's just standing there in his socks. But hey, man, but they built like a Galactus costume for him. But like in terms of just the sense of scale, I would say both Superman and Fantastic Four do this. They really have a really good sense of scale to really show the awesome power. I mean, awesome in that sort of, reverent kind of mode, like of small people, not literally small people, trying to solve problems that are cosmically larger than themselves. From Superman, where there's this gigantic, literally Godzilla-sized monster, and he's just like, he's a normal dude-sized dude, and he just flies down and he's like, well, I'm going to stop this foot from squishing this squirrel, right? and this with Galactus, and they have some pretty comical scenes of Galactus walking through New York City, and it looks kind of silly, but like it does convey the scale in a wonderful way. And I think it's looking silly on purpose, like where you see just his feet walking down a street, but they're huge, of course, because he's a gigantic cosmic being. But seeing something like that in the theater, especially, really conveyed that level of threat for these characters, while also being something that's really just like, oh, I'm glad I'm seeing this on a big screen. That and seeing these characters ultimately overcome. I will say, like, again, my familiarity with the Fantastic Four is as marginal as it is as my familiarity with Superman is, and like there's some dialogue choices that I was surprised by, and character choices and plot moments. I'm like, oh wow, this is kind of actually dark. But when you actually take it into consideration, like Fantastic Four, like this is a family of four people who in their universe, they're the only superheroes around. When they're asking for help from another person on the team, and literally I'll say this, there's a scene where a character says, kill this person because they are trying to harm us. I'm like, damn, that's like Optimus Prime saying, I'm going to rip off your face. I'm like, it just felt a little strong. But I think they root the family dynamic of these characters so well. They're like, oh, this is actually like an existential threat to this character that really grounded in otherwise very silly, cosmic, Marvel superhero kind of story. The characters of the Fantastic Four, that you know, Reed Richards, Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm, I think really come through, especially in terms of their chemistry and how they all work together. Because that's one thing they've been really kind of doubling down on in the marketing for it. These actors seem to have really got along and have become close, and I feel it does really come through on screen as well. Yeah.
No, I'm excited to see them. All these things. I'm still behind on all the movies. I believe I will be seeing Thunderbolt sometime in the next month or two.
That was great.
Actually, great. Here's a good thing. I think I may have mentioned previously, I've talked about how it came out on digital whatever, not Disney Plus, but like digital rental. And it was like, $25 to rent, $30 to buy. Actually, that's too much. I'm just going to wait for Disney Plus. But then I found out it was released on Blu-ray July 28th, I think it was, last week. And I actually literally sat there looking at the internet like, it's less than I would have paid for the digital version, and I'll have the Blu-ray to keep. But I did not buy it.
That movie's good.
Did not buy it. I don't. I'm trying not to get back into. Dan will remember. I used to have like a wall of DVDs. I'm trying not to get back there. Although honestly, there's going to be more things of like I think I need it to preserve this. So I don't trust those internet people.
Indeed. So comic book movies, they're good.
Yeah, they are.
So if you, dear listeners, have any thoughts about the topics we discussed this week, feel free to leave your thoughts as comments on the page for this episode at forallintents.net.
You can also post your comments or engage in conversations with other listeners on our Facebook page.
You can find us at the social media that Andrew and I frequent specifically, which means you can find me on Bluesky and Instagram at dbethelcomics, and you can find Andrew on Mastodon at profounddark@dice.camp, which also sends him.
I have a repeater on Bluesky, but you will not be able to. I won't see you unless you also install the repeater, the bridge, I believe it's called. Because that's how the two communicate. So I can I message some people on Bluesky, just not Dan.
You're like, come to the bridge.
He did not cross the bridge. While you're at our website at forallintents.net, you can also take a look at our YouTube page, which you can find by clicking on the link at the corner that says YouTube. There you'll find this show simulcast in YouTube. If you do listen to the show there, please like and subscribe. And as the kids like to say, ring that bell. We use 2 tracks of music for our show. One is called Disco Medusae, the other is called District 4, both written and performed by Kevin McLeod of the Clan McLeod, immortal swordsman, graph paper enthusiast, and musician extraordinaire. You can find his music at incompetech.filmmusic.io, and that's all licensed under the Creative Commons 4.0 Attribution License. If you'd like the show and like to help us out, the best way to do so would be to subscribe to the show using whichever podcasting service you happen to use. What would help us out even more would be to leave some sort of review, whether a text review or using their proprietary metric will help spread the word to new potential listeners through the magic of algorithms. Andrew, I have it here. I have it in my notes. So you're here to talk about some shit. I got some shit to talk about. Okay. I did make I made a little throwaway. It's a strange note that you sent. Andrew's just like, I just want to talk about some shit, which seems really informal for your voice. Yeah, informal. I mentioned I was actually buying. I actually have ordered a digital audio converter, a DAC. Yeah. And I'd been considering buying one for a while for my Mac Mini, only because the headphone jack is on the front of the Mac Mini, and I do not like that. I'm like, I may as well get a fancier DAC so I can get higher quality audio. But also, the Blu-ray player has a coaxial digital out, and that's it. Coax, really? Yeah. So SPDIF, I believe is also called. Yeah. Not a Toslink optical. And so the thing is, I was like, oh shit. Now it ends up, it also like pipes audio red out. And white cords, right? No, it's a single. Oh, it's a coax. It's a coax digital. Yeah. So I actually have, it does output audio through the HDMI, and as it ends up, the computer monitor it's plugged into has a stereo output because it has it has its own audio converter. But I was like, well, shit, I need to get something fancy for this, right? So I went down a rabbit hole looking, and I found out there's this company based out of Los Angeles. It's an American company. They've been around for like 15 years. That makes audio processors, audio converters, all sorts of audio equipment. And the name of the company, so I ordered it. It has not arrived yet. It'll arrive about a week.
So stay tuned next week, dear listeners.
The company, their name is, I'm going to spell it for you. It's Schiit. Schiit. Yeah. So on their website, they actually even say, like, on the front page, it says, yes, that's our name. And they have this thing about it's pronounced Chita, the German, like, Teutonic tribesmen, blah, blah, blah.
Sure
or actually it's pronounced like that's some good shit.
Right.
And apparently, actually, it is in fact some good shit, right? That's there's a backstory of one of the engineers. His wife always said, hey, go work on your shit. And they finally said, why don't we just name it that? So yeah, I have this thing coming, so I'm going to be able to actually have the audio converted by not a shitty chip that's in the monitor, but actually like a very professional
shit. Yeah.
In my shit. Yeah. So I'm excited. Honestly, I will say I've always been a bit of I've never really leaned that hard into audiophile, but I always sit right at the edge of it, right? Like I'll buy some nice equipment, but not too much, and it's been a while, and I'm excited to see how it sounds. If I can listen to the grandeur of Stargate Atlantis.
Do you have good speakers?
The speakers I have because you.
Oh, yeah, it's true. I have the same ones. They are good. They're incredible speakers.
They're actually pretty good for computer speakers. And also, I also have. I'm probably going to buy better headphones, and that's going to be the real thing. Is I'm going to go hard on fancy headphones. So yeah, it's just been what a weird this company Schiit Audio, and I kind of like they embrace the name
Schiit.
Yeah. So I'll find out what it's like when by next week I'll have a comment. We will follow up on my shit. Yeah, audio.
So I'm very excited for you to you going down the audiophile rabbit hole. I'm like, oh great! Pretty soon he's going to talk about turntables and oh boy, start buying vinyl and shit.
Oh no, I'm not gonna. No. I don't know. I'm not that into it.
So until you get into some good shit, dear listeners, I'm D. Bethel.
And I'm Andrew Rasplin.
And for all intents and purposes,
that was a podcast.
I'm not here to talk about Volkswagen buzzes. I'm here to fucking clap.
Mm-hmm.
After one. It's going to be the 8th of Agosto.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, baby.
All right. Cue the theme music. Bow, bow,
that's someone else's theme music.
So how would I know not to interrupt you?
I feel like
do it anyway, bro.
I think it's very funny.
I feel like you would have interrupted me no matter the cost.
Well, now we'll never know. Yeah, will we?
We won't.
That was a shit cast. I felt like I was treading water just because I did not want to get into spoilers. But we'll see.
Spoilers.
Guess what? The good guys win.
Oh my God.
Sorry. Performed by Billy Valentine. I loved his work in Resident Evil.
Billy Valentine.
Is he the master of unlocking?